Okay, we're looking at factors of production. So we've got 4 factors of production: land, labor, capital, and enterprise or entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship's the more correct term that we use in South Africa. So, what are the inputs for the factors of production? Labor, work employees do to produce goods. So, if we had to say our example is going to be a cake. What kind of inputs for factors of production could go into cake? Well, labor could be the farm workers who are milking the cows, who are getting the eggs from the chickens, who are cutting the wheat, doing different farm work. It could also be the employees at the restaurant that's going to be making the cake, the person that works in the kitchen, mixing the food, all those kind of things. So anyone that's going to be involved in that sort of production. So labor, your workers, your workforce. Capital, money that the production process uses, as well as machinery and equipment. So if I'm starting a business, I need capital. That's going to give me money that I can use to get my business up and running. I can buy machinery, equipment. I can maybe rent some space that I'm going to work from. I can pay some people's salaries. So capital is really important, your investment that you've made in the getting the business up and running. Land, well, natural resources that the business uses. So if it's a restaurant, maybe it's the actual coffee shop or whatever. If it's the farm, land that you're using to grow the wheat that you're going to be making, the chickens are running around on. Entrepreneurship, entrepreneurial thinking that brings all the other inputs together. So all 4 of those are our factors of production. Capital. So we get different types of capital. There's borrowed capital or loan capital, and then your own capital. So borrowed capital is money that you've either borrowed from friends, family, or a bank. That money generally will be paid back with interest. So that's where the word kind of loan comes in, especially if you borrow money from the bank. You're going to borrow that to get your business up and running, and you have to pay it back in installments. So if I borrow 20,000 Rand, and every month I'm going to pay back 200 Rand plus 20 Rand interest. So I'll pay 220 Rand back until I've paid back the full amount. Own capital, your own money that you've saved, inherited, and you're going to invest in your business. Some people don't have to borrow capital. Some people do. Labor. So we've got 3 different types of labor. Unskilled labor, work that does not require a high level of skills or independent judgment. It often involves physical labor. For example, a shelf packer at the supermarkets. Could be a miner. Semi-skilled labor, work that requires some skill, training, and independent judgment. So a driver, so you maybe drive a truck, office admin assistant, receptionist, waiter at a restaurant. Skilled labor, work that requires a high level of skill, thorough training, and independent judgment. Doctor, dentist, lawyer. So generally skilled labor, that person has gone and studied for a couple of years at university level. And in terms of salary, they'll get a higher salary. In terms of work, it's not as physical. Parts of your day could be sitting at a desk, typing things up, working on a computer, operating on a body. You're not digging a hole in the ground kind of thing. For semi-skilled labor, so you've got someone like an office assistant. They could have studied at a college. Maybe they've got a diploma. They obviously have some kind of training, and their skill and training will grow over the number of years in which they perform the job. They often might have to make independent judgments, but they don't have a degree. And so in terms of remuneration, it will be less than skilled labor, but it'll be more than unskilled labor. Unskilled labor, if you're thinking of a job site where, say, there's a construction site, you're building a building, skilled labor is going to be your engineer. Your semi-skilled could be the person driving the truck. They've had to train, learn how to work the truck that's going to be digging up the ground. Your unskilled labor are going to be the people that have the pickaxe, the shovel, and they're digging, working with the cement. It doesn't mean that they haven't learned things. Often they'll pick up skills on the job. They haven't had to study at university or college for those skills. They've learned things as they've worked, and the work is often involving a lot of physical effort. It's not sitting behind a computer screen. Role of the worker in a business. Human capital, that's another word for labor, knowledge and skills that workers get by working for a business. So the more knowledge and skills your workers get, the higher the value of your human capital. Fair employment practices that focus on good labor relations. If you're working for a company, you want to know that you're being treated fairly. You're earning a fair wage or a fair salary, and your workplace is safe, that you're getting a fair amount of sick leave, holiday, you're getting a fair pay. Labor relations, ways in which employers and employees relate to one another in the workplace. So, labor laws. There's the Labor Relations Act, and that promotes social justice, peace, and democracy in the workplace. Everyone is treated fairly. Basic Conditions of Employment Act protects employees from exploitation by the employers by regulating things like working hours, leave, pay, and retrenchment. How many hours is it fair to expect your employee to work per day? If they work more, that's called overtime, and they should be paid for overtime, and you normally earn more by working overtime. Your rate per hour is higher. How many days leave can they get per year? What is a fair salary? What is a minimum wage? And if they want to leave the company, how many days notice must they give? If they are retrenched, what is the procedure? Making sure that the employers treat the employees fairly. Occupational Health and Safety Act, it specifies what safe and healthy workplaces are and how businesses do not damage employees' health. So in a company, if you think of a mine, miners are going underground. What measures have mine companies taken to protect mine workers as they are digging in mines underground? That could be a very dangerous work environment. So what are they doing to protect the worker? Compensation for Occupational Injuries and Diseases Act, how employers should compensate employees and their families should an employee get sick, injured, or die while doing their job. What are the laws? And so these are 4 very important acts that you should be aware about as you enter the workplace. Remuneration for the factors of production. So if I own land, what can I do to earn money from it? Well, I could rent out that land and I would get rent income. Remuneration for labor. So if I have a job and I go work for the company, how will I be remunerated? How will I be paid? Well, I will get either a wage or a salary. Remuneration for capital. Businesses can borrow capital. They would take a loan, for example, from the bank. They would have to pay that money back with interest. So interest is remuneration for capital. And for entrepreneurship, remuneration is profit. So your reward for your entrepreneurial ideas and thinking that develop your business into a successful organization is going to be profits.